This is CNN Rotating Square. The following program was pre-recorded.
Tonight on World News, an overview of events for October 2017, including many stories that have been suppressed by the leftist media since IT first reported them. Now, here is David Carter.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's news relates to various subjects that you've all been seeing in the last few weeks, and this international edition of our local news is to give you an overview of what's happening in the United States. Most people realize that there is an overdose going on of a massive epidemic proportion here in the United States relating to all kinds of various opioids. In one particular area, primarily the Midwest to the central part of the United States, is about 500 people a day are dying in some parts of the United States from opioid epidemics. And to say that it's something that people did not know was going to happen is an understatement, because they don't realize how the opioid epidemic began. Parents, specifically as far back as perhaps 2 or 3 years ago, were saying over and over again their children must have medical marijuana. Well, once it became legal in all 50 states for children to get marijuana, the inevitable next step was to make opioids legal in a certain context all the way across the board, to say, well, if they have to have marijuana, they have to have heroin, or they have to have crack, they have to have methamphetamine, all the rest of it. Well, now, because of the legalization of this one drug, marijuana, it is now catapulted like a domino effect. And now the opioid epidemic has been the outcrop of this initial medical marijuana mandate, which said everybody must be entitled to get medical marijuana. So, in our researching what's been going on across the entire country, we've come up with one conclusion. You wanted it, you've got it, live with it. Medical marijuana and all kinds of opioids, whether or not you think they're good in certain aspects, it always has an underlying effect, addiction. Whether or not it's cannabis oil, whether it's the actual grass, weed that you smoke, all opioids have the same effect. It is an addiction that cannot be curtailed because of it being prescribed as medical use only. Because guess what? When they became medical, it also became recreational use, which means this is the doorway that was opened for all opioids. And now the government tries to laughably prove through these busts that they make of heroin, crack, marijuana stockpiles that they're finding, where they're bringing them in from Colombia, they're bringing them in from Mexico. This is just a laughable lie that the government provokes on America. They say, look at what we're doing. We're stopping the busts of all these drugs that are being sold on the streets. Nobody is buying it because people know already if you can get it legal, there's no reason to get it off the street, because you know you could smoke it to the point of killing yourself, and they don't have to take the chance of buying it for who knows how much money off the street when they can get it from their doctor. And then they don't have to go out and do anything. They could just go to the doctor's office, get the prescription, go to the pharmacy or wherever they go for these opioids that are now legal. And all it does is open the opportunity for them to get every other kind of opioid there is. And government cannot deny the fact that they are the ones that instigated the epidemic that we now have in America. Because when they let it come in one fashion, it is now all the way across the board. So as an observer, I can honestly say to the people who are watching this all over the world, America wanted what is now happening. They wanted an epidemic. They wanted only one thing. The parent kept saying over and over again, you must make it legal for us to get marijuana and heroin and crack. because our child has a medical need for it. And now the outcome is you have an epidemic that is out of proportion, it is out of control, and you have the news media who are liable to lie and tell people whatever fact they want, whether it be true or not. And they're now going on the air saying, we must do something, this is out of control, it's an epidemic beyond proportion. And I say this, y'all pushed it and pushed it on the American people that America wanted medical opioids. They wanted marijuana, they wanted heroin, they wanted crack, they wanted methane and methamphetamine, all the rest of them. And I say, you've got it. So just accept it and just drop the issue, just like you did AIDS. AIDS is even more out of control today than it was when the gay and the homosexual revolution was not even on people's minds. And now it's like AIDS is totally taboo. Nobody will speak of it anymore on the news. It's another subject matter in itself. The media now suppresses the fact that AIDS is ongoing. It still continues out of control in America. But because AIDS is transmitted through mostly homosexuals, and because a homosexual is now the only key person in society who is important, therefore they can't bring up something that they are creating themselves, so they have to suppress it so that the media says, no, we're not talking about AIDS anymore. They're not saying it's been cured, I add, but they do say to the American people, homosexuals must be given more clout, more credibility than the person who's straight, who lives normal, and so therefore we can't discuss a subject matter that directly relates to a homosexual, and the fact that AIDS kills just as much as any opioid does, and yet we can't talk about AIDS because it'll offend the homosexual, it'll offend the transgender, the bisexual, the gay couple. And so as a result of that, folks, they won't talk about things that obviously exist. In other news, there's the story, obviously, in the last couple of weeks, Las Vegas, Nevada had a massive terrorist, which it wasn't a terrorist attack by an individual. His name is Stephen Paddock. He shot 59 people to death, and 500 plus people are still recovering from the injuries that they sustained at a concert. And some facts have come out during the first 24 hours after the event that we feel is very valuable to our watchers all across the world. Number one, there is a statement that was made by multiple witnesses who were at the scene who stated a man and a woman of Hispanic background or ethnic background were reported to have made threats to the audience 45 minutes before the attack by Stephen Paddock, saying, "You're going to die tonight." Well, they went to security, and security did not detain them for making terrorist threats or threats of any kind. They just took them outside of the park area and let them go. Nobody ever found these people after the attack, and to this day, as odd as this seems, ladies and gentlemen, they have not tried to find these people. These are two individuals who very, very likely were either accessories or accomplices to Stephen Paddock, that they would go out and they would tell just complete strangers in this area where the concert was going on, "You're going to die tonight." And they didn't do anything. The police have just totally disavowed that it even happened, even though they have it on film, they have it being videotaped by news people who are on the scene asking witnesses, "Tell us more about this. Who were these people that came out?" They gave them descriptions as much as they could, and all that's been determined is that these were two Hispanic individuals, and nobody now seems interested in pursuing this fact because of one reason. We have learned here at International News that Stephen Paddock had direct connections with the Democratic Party. They are saying, and this is true by CBS News, who made this accusation, those that died deserved to because they all voted for Donald Trump. They were all Republicans. Well, they did fire this anchor because of what she said, or this news reporter, but she indirectly spilled the beans because, you see, she was proving that it was the Democratic Party who very likely could have sent Stephen Paddock to Las Vegas to kill those people. In other words, it was what's called a deterrent. You send somebody in, you create terror, you create panic and chaos, and then indirectly then try to tie it all back to the Republican Party being the ones who caused it because of, for whatever retarded attitude people take, that Donald Trump is not their president. They didn't want him. But Paddock was definitely a Democrat. He was registered as a Democrat. And then also the credibility comes into question of how did he get so many weapons into the hotel without anybody stopping him, without security having known that he was doing these things. And it all points back to the fact that the democratic system, the Democratic Party, who actually is the establishment called Washington, D.C., have given people, let's say, special accommodation to attack Republican issues and not be held accountable. And I'm referring to the continual bash that goes on with Donald Trump. They sent rioters, picketers, protesters to all of Donald Trump's campaign speeches all over the United States during the time that he was trying to run for president. The Democratic Party was sending these people to attack him. Well, if they got that kind of power to manipulate things and destroy somebody's credibility like they've been trying to do Donald Trump, it's inevitable they have the same power and the same amount of money to do the same thing to somebody like Stephen Paddock and recruit him to go to Las Vegas and say, we want to create a massive scenario of chaos and confusion. We're going to give you all the help you can. We want you to take out as many people at that concert as possible. Then we, in the establishment, can create the illusion to the public that they, the Republican Party themselves, caused this as a backlash because of Donald Trump being elected as president. And that he, being a Democrat, he went in, he shot these people because he hated whatever reason the Democrats have as a spitfire to intimidate the Republicans and to say they're wrong, they're this, they're that, we're right, end of question, end of everything, we are the establishment, we decide what happens. That's the philosophy, ladies and gentlemen, about the story of the Las Vegas mass shooting. And I brought it up at the beginning that this individual was never actually charged as a terrorist. He may not have ties to Islam, but that does not mean he does not have ties to organizations in this country that have terrorist views. I'm talking about the New World Order, the global government system, which is what Barack Obama, who was the president of the Democratic Party for 8 years, he has advocated that. He has brainwashed people to believe the philosophy that the New World Order is the only outcome that will take place in America, because this is what the communists want. This is what socialism is. Communism is socialism. Put it together. Don't keep them separate and say, well, that's not the same thing as communism. It's not the same thing as Marxism. It is the same thing. The Democrats have wanted it ever since Barack Obama was president. When Clinton did not win, they knew the chance to continue Obama's socialism in America was gone. America said, we don't want it. It sucks, it doesn't work, it never did work. So now the Democrats are saying, well, we got to go after Trump because he doesn't stand for what Obama wanted. So now we got to destroy everything about Donald Trump. So every time you turn around, you're hearing people saying, well, Trump's not doing this, Trump's not doing that. No, Trump is standing by the United States Constitution, which is what we as Americans wanted 240 years ago. We want freedom, we want responsibility, we want a country that is responsible for its conduct and for its actions. And what Donald Trump is trying to do is to fix the mess, which was Obama. Trying to fix the crap he created for 8 years. And as an observer of America, ladies and gentlemen, to the world, I can say this honestly and truly. We have a demonic organization in process of trying to destroy America's foundations, destroy our constitutional rights as American citizens, because the Democrats don't want us to have freedom. The United States as a country was founded on one book, and that is the Bible. The Bible is what our founding fathers intended this country to be. Now you have one race who is getting power beyond perception of what America was founded to be, which was that it's supposed to be equal to all. The blacks now control everything about our country. The blacks now saying, no, it's not about you anymore, it's about us. If we want to destroy the country, we will. And then, of course, the Democrats are helping them all along. They've been helping them all along. So it's mind-boggling, ladies and gentlemen, to do this newscast and realize this is happening right now all around me, and yet the news media itself in the United States is liberal. They are totally left. They lied during the campaign. They lied during the election. They have lied ever since. It's called fake news. Donald Trump has said it over and over again, and the reason why nobody seems to do anything about it is because most of them are these individuals who they're either addicted to drugs and don't care, or they have a philosophy that it's about destroying everything good and making it evil, and therefore saying evil's good, good is bad. Good is evil, evil is good. That's what they're trying to do. That's what the Democratic Party has been doing for 8 years, to totally turn rationality upside down into insanity. And they've done it because now the United States as a country cannot grasp anymore the perception of right or wrong because of what Obama did. You know what? That all shows, ladies and gentlemen, one fact. It was supernaturally instigated. And if it's supernatural, it is not God doing these things. It is the devil himself. It is Satan instigating these kinds of hate crimes. And then of course Obama uses the idea, philosophy of saying thought crime is now wrong, which means your perceptions and your beliefs are not criminal, because that's what he was saying all along during the last term of his office as president. We got to stop people from having individual thought, individual rights to say and think what they want to. And now it's all about the Democrats, the homosexuals, the atheists saying we now control everything about America, and that includes what you believe, what you think, what you will think, how you live, what you will do in your life. Everything has to do with the philosophy that the Democratic Party are all that matter. The Democratic Party and what Obama stood for is all that you will live for and live with. And people still today, people do not bring up Obama's name for everything that is being found out about how screwed up our country is. And Donald Trump didn't have the time to do it because he's just been in there now for 10 months. But the Democrats keep saying, no, we got to bring up Trump because we don't want Obama being brought into these subjects. He's got to have a legacy. That's why they've been destroying any attempt to repeal and replace Obamacare. Because that was his disaster. And that's his legacy. And that's what he wants people to live with. So I say to people who are constantly bickering about Obamacare, let it fail. Let it totally disintegrate in front of the Democratic Party. Let it obliterate in front of them and say, this is your mess, you fix it. And that's the only way it'll ever be fixed, because then it isn't going to be in John McCain's hands or Lindsey Graham's hands or any of these other hypocrites who say they're Republicans and they're not. They're Democrats. They say, we're trying to make things better for America. But all you're doing is showing that you are not standing by your party affiliation. You're standing by the Democrats because either they paid you off or they did something that made you think you had to do it this way. So I say, just like Donald Trump said, let it fail, let it just totally collapse. Then we'll blame it on the Democrats who created this whole laughable mess and let them figure out how to pick it all up. There's no reason to fix something that was doomed to failure from the very beginning when Obama said, you're going to vote for this because I'm telling you to. You want to know what's in it? Fine. Wait till it's already been passed, and then we'll tell you what's in it. Nancy Pelosi said that the night of the election. When she and all the rest of them are saying, vote for this, vote for this, vote for this, she was saying, you sign it now, we'll tell you later what's in what the package is about. So I agree. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you've enjoyed the program, and please come back again for more facts about America.